guys, we're the Sports Addicts podcast, and we're back again today with our NFL Week 1 regular season predictions. So today we're going to be going over the first 8 games of Week 1. And obviously this NFL 2020 season, we're in uncharted territory, obviously with no fans other than the Chiefs. It'll be interesting to see how the season plays out. So starting off on Thursday, September 10th, we have the Texans at the Chiefs. So, Sai, who do you have taking this game?
Yeah, so I think the defending champs, the Chiefs, are going to win this game. I just don't think that the Texans, especially after losing their obviously star wide receiver this offseason, DeAndre Hopkins, really have a shot. Like, the Chiefs' offense is just so good. Like, they can score on anyone, and the Houston Texans secondary is pretty terrible besides Justin Reed and maybe Bradley Roby, who's pretty average in my opinion. So I think that the Chiefs' offense is just going to start tearing up the Texans secondary. Even though the Texans were up 24-0 in the playoffs, they obviously blew it. They couldn't even stop Mahomes after he got going. So I think that the Texans pretty much don't really stand a chance. And in Kansas City with fans, it just nothing is shaped up for the Texans, and it's a really bad matchup.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone has the Chiefs win this game. But an interesting question is, how do you think Deshaun Watson is going to play? Obviously, with now he has Brandon Cooks, Kenny Stills, Will Fuller, and Kiki Kuti as his receivers. How do you see that playing out? Do you see him performing at the same level that we saw him
I think that David Johnson is actually a pretty good acquisition. He's pretty, I feel like he wasn't used to his full ability in Arizona. I think that if he can be a good player for the Texans, I don't think it's really that bad of a trade in my opinion. I think that obviously DeAndre Hopkins is a superstar wide receiver, right? But it all depends on David Johnson and obviously the pick they used on Ross Blacklock. If he can become a really good run stuffing defensive tackle like they lost in DJ Reader, along with David Johnson being like at least a shell of himself before, I think that trade won't be as bad as people make it out to be. And I think that Deshaun Watson, with his new weapons, I think that Will Fuller and Randall Cobb is another guy that goes under the radar they signed. And I think that obviously Brandon Cooks, they have plenty of speed. I think that speed is a name of the game in the NFL. I think that without speed on your team, it's pretty hard to win. Like, if you look at all the good teams, obviously the Chiefs, they have crazy speed in Tyreek Hill, and you look at the Niners, Deebo Samuel's really fast. I think that you need a guy who could stretch the field, and I think that the Texans obviously invested in that, but I just don't think they can beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, this is obviously one of the more marquee matchups with two young quarterbacks. You have to the NFL in Patrick Mahomes, and then you have another upcoming star, Deshaun Watson. So it'll be a good way to start off the season. So moving on to the next game in the schedule, we have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington football team. What do you have taken that?
Yeah, I think this is actually a sneaky game in my opinion. I think that obviously it's in Washington, but I don't think the home field advantage this year is as patented as it usually is. It's not that big of an advantage, especially without fans in most of the stadiums. Right? So I think that Eagles, obviously, they have a crazy good roster. The talent is all over the place. I think that Washington, besides their front seven, they're lacking in pretty much every other position besides maybe Terry McLaurin at wide receiver. So I think that Washington doesn't really have a shot against Philadelphia unless Dwayne Haskins has really improved, and especially as a first game of Dwayne Haskins under Ron Rivera's system and all the new personnel they brought in. I just don't think that the Washington football team really has a shot.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, it is a sneaky game because the Eagles' primary weakness was their offensive line. Obviously, when healthy, their offensive line is a top 5 unit. But obviously, you have Brandon Brooks. He tore his ACL. Andre Dillard tore his biceps. They're bringing in Jason Peters to play right guard. I don't think he's switched to left tackle yet. And there's so many unprovens. And when you look at that Washington defensive line, they have 5 first-rounders on there: Chase Young, Jonathan Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat as well. You have to figure this game is going to be much closer than people expect it to be because of the havoc that the front seven, as you said, can wreak. So I think
I think that you're definitely right about that. I think that Washington is definitely a sneaky team this year. I feel like they're a little underrated. Obviously, their offensive line is not great. The receivers, they're relying a lot on Terry McLaurin. I think that Steven Sims Jr. last year came on as a rookie. I think at the end of the season last year, he was actually pretty good. I think that Dwayne Haskins' season last year was really underrated in my opinion. I think that he started off obviously terrible. He just was thrown into a dumpster fire. And I think that's really unfair for any quarterback to go through. And I think that this year with a more stable head coach who's been a proven winner in this league, I think that the the Washington football team have a shot of not obviously making the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be cellar dwellers like they were last
year. Hopefully we can see the Dwayne Haskins that many people expected when he came out of Ohio State. So Moving on to the next matchup, you have the Miami Dolphins versus the Cam Newton-led New England Patriots. So who do you have in that?
Yeah, so I think that the Patriots, obviously they lost a lot of people on defense, like obviously with Dante Hightower opting out, and obviously they lost a lot of people in free agency as well. Danny Shelton to the Lions, Jamie Collins to the Lions, who are pretty much building a Patriots team there. They lost a lot of people. They traded Deron Harmon away, so I think that the Patriots. Like this season, I just don't expect them to be very good, but I do expect them to win this game. I think they're gonna probably win this game against Miami, especially even though Fitzmagic is playing and Miami has improved. I think that not Pittsburgh, sorry, Patriots obviously are proven winners, and I think that they definitely have a shot of the playoffs this year. But I just think the loss of personnel is going to hurt them. But for this game, I think that's enough to beat Miami, who's brought in a lot of new talent and a lot of new faces in this sketchy offseason.
Yeah, no argument here. I feel like the Dolphins' offense is going to have trouble against that vaunted secondary, and I think Patriots are going to make light work of this Dolphins team. So moving on to the next matchup, and a pretty interesting matchup to see as these guys are supposed to be in the race for the division crown. You have the Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings. Who do you have taking this one?
Yes, I think I actually have the Packers taking this one. I think that the Packers, I think they're underdogs in this one, especially playing in Minnesota. Obviously, Minnesota usually is a crazy stadium to play in, especially with all the fans and their brand new stadium, which looks amazing. I think that this game it really favors the Packers in my opinion. I think the defensive line against that like shaky Minnesota offensive line is gonna tear them apart. And I think that obviously the Packers still don't have any linebackers like they usually never do. Like in the middle, especially in the middle linebacker position, they lost Blake Martinez, who was like their only like sure tackler who misses like the first tackle and then gets it the second time. So I think that the Packers are going to struggle without linebackers and to stop Dalvin Cook. But I do think that the pass rush is going to get to Kirk Cousins faster than people expect it to. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is out to prove that he's a winner. And I think he's out to prove that he deserves that job over Jordan Love. And I think that the Packers obviously didn't do great in the draft. They won the worst in the league. But I think that they're just talent overall is just better than Minnesota, even though the Minnesota did pull off the trade for Yannick and
Yeah, I actually have a bold prediction for this. When you look at the Vikings cornerbacks, like their safety room is probably the best in the NFL. But when you look at their cornerbacks, although their cornerbacks last year were they're much subpar. Xavier Rhodes had one of the worst seasons of his career. Mike Hughes was injured. You have a lot of new guys. Jeff Gladney, Hughes, guys like that. I feel like when going against a top 5 receivers in Devontae Adams, I feel like Devontae Adams is going to cook those guys up, and I feel like he's going to have a 150 plus, potentially even a 200-yard game against this Vikings defense.
Yeah, I think that you're definitely right about that. But I think that they can double team him. I think that's what they're gonna plan to do. And obviously, the Packers they don't have many other weapons other than their star wide receiver Devontae Adams and the running backs. So I don't know how the Packers might pull this off, but their offensive line is good. I think they can hold up against the two edge rushers of Minnesota who are pretty underrated in Yannick Ngakoue and Daniel Hunter. But I just think the Packers, with the experience and a quarterback and the proven talent, I think that they can probably win this game.
Yeah, it'll be a fun matchup to see. And moving on to the next game, we have the Colts, the Philip Rivers-led Colts, to the Jaguars, who appear to be who appear to be in a full-on tank mode. Who do you have in this one?
Yeah, so obviously I'm not gonna go with the upset here. I'm gonna take the Colts. The Colts, I think this is a good indicator of what their season's gonna be. I think the Colts are one of these teams where they can shock a lot of people and be like even 11-5 and 10-6, but they can also like disappoint many people like they did last year and become like 7-9 or like 6-10. The range of winning is definitely pretty high in my opinion. I think that this game is going to be a big indicator. I think they're going to pull it out regardless, but I think that if they can blow the Jaguars out, it should like hype up Colts fans, especially because Philip Rivers was struggling last year. So if he can fix his mistakes by taking too many chances, I think that the Colts have a good shot this season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously playing against the worst team in the NFL, this should be light work for the Colts. Now, we're going to go on to the Bears versus Lions. Obviously, Matt Nagy said that he won't declare the starter until week 1 approaches. So we don't know if it's going to be Mitch Trubisky or Nick Foles. And then you have the Lions who are getting Matthew Stafford back from that back injury. So who do you have in this one?
Yeah, I actually think the Lions are very underrated this season. Obviously, Matt Stafford is under the radar every single season. Last year, the Lions always start off really hot. Like every season, they always start off really good. Even if the game they lose because of some controversy or like some one-score game where they like barely lose out. Like last season, I remember against Kansas City, they barely lost. Against Green Bay, they barely lost. So I think that the Lions with Matt Stafford, with the added pieces that they've added in DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson coming back healthy, and obviously Marvin Jones staying healthy and Kerryon Johnson staying healthy, their offense is going to be high powered. They brought in a new right tackle to replace Rick Wagner. In my opinion, is an upgrade actually than over Rick Wagner. And their offensive line isn't great overall, but even although they paid their tackles like 25 mil for two average tackles at best, I think the Lions can pull off the win against the Bears, who still have uncertainty at quarterback, who still have uncertainty at the weapons position besides Allen Robinson. So, and the Bears who like signed like 20 tight ends this offseason with Jimmy Graham and they're drafting Cole Kmet. And I just don't think the Bears offense can stand a chance because it's high powered Lions offense.
Yeah, I agree with you with like the Lions' potential for offense. Obviously, the potential is sky high with star wide receivers, a great two-man running game, a good QB, and I feel like if they're gonna be a good offense, they're gonna prove it against this tough Bears defense. Obviously, they have one of their defensive lines in football with Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Robert Quinn, who's probably not gonna be as good as he was last year, but it's gonna be fun to see. I feel like this is gonna be one of the more surprisingly fun games to watch in the week.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of the more closer games in the opening week of the season.
Yeah, and moving on to another game, we have the Las Vegas Raiders playing the Carolina Panthers, the Teddy Bridgewater led Carolina Panthers.
Yeah,
We got
so basically, I think in this game it's going to be a pretty much a shootout. I think, and I don't think Teddy Bridgewater in his first game as a Panther, along with the new coaching staff in Matt Rule and the LSU offensive coordinator who coached Joe Burrow last season. I just don't think the Panthers really have a shot against this Las Vegas Raiders team who improved on all levels of the defense this season. I think that last year they were pretty horrendous at every position on the defense except for one edge rusher position. I think that this season, you're going to see a new Cleveland Furrow on the defensive line. You're going to see a top 10 linebacker core with Nick Kwiatkowski and the addition of Corey Littleton, one of the best cover linebackers in the league. I think that that's been their biggest issue over the past like decade, not having a stable linebacker core who can cover tight ends or running backs. And I think that this season, I think the Raiders are going to surprise some folks. And I think that it's going to start with a win against the Panthers.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be a shootout. Both the defenses, the Panthers defense, obviously like a lot of unknowns. They lost their top cornerback to the Giants, James Bradbury. They also bought in Derek Brown, so it'll be fun to see what impact he can have. And obviously the Raiders, they're having a lot of secondary turmoil. They released Darius Randall, and Makamura. They're basically handing the reins to their young guys. So yeah, I feel like the young guys are going to struggle against a pretty underrated Panthers offense with DJ Moore as their top wide receiver and Robbie Anderson as the number two. And obviously, Christian McCaffrey is probably like the best receiving back, one of the better receiving backs in the NFL. So I feel like we can expect a potentially 35-plus point game. And whatever team comes up with just one defensive stop will win this game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair to say. I think there's a reason why the Carolina Panthers drafted all defenses here. They pretty much have no one on the defensive side except for Brian Burns, who was pretty inconsistent last year, along with Shaq Thompson, who's been really consistent over his whole career. So I think the Panthers are really unknown on defense, just like the Raiders are. But I think that the offensive weapons on the Raiders I think, outweigh the Panthers a little bit more. If you look at the offensive line, the Raiders take the crown there. You look at the tight end position, they take the crown there. For sure, you can say the running back position. Obviously, the Panthers take the crown, but Josh Jacobs is no slouch. And if you look at the wide receivers position, obviously DJ Moore is great. So I think it's really like a chess match at this point. It's just whoever, as you said, whoever gets the first stop and whoever can get the most stops, obviously, will win the game.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see. And moving on to the our last matchup of this part one predictions, you have the Jets versus the Bills, and a uh pretty I feel like
Offsetting
it's
matchup.
yeah exactly yeah. So who do you have winning this one?
Yes, I think I'm gonna take the obvious pick here. I'm not gonna go any like crazy wild pick here, like with the Jets. I think that the Bills obviously they have a great talented defense. Their team is really balanced, and in every aspect of the game. They added Stephon Diggs as the number one wide receiver. They already had John Brown, who went over 1,000 yards last season. So, and obviously that looked great. Pretty good, not great, obviously, a pretty good wide receiver core along with Cole Beasley. So I think that the Bills, along with the really patented special teams that many people don't talk about, and I think that they'll just like run over the Jets. I expect this game to be over pretty much at halftime.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's probably gonna be over halftime. The Jets, they like, I feel like they have no direction. The players don't have any trust in a head coach Adam Gase, as we saw with Le'Veon Bell and his Twitter display. And I feel like this is gonna be Josh Allen's. Like, if Josh Allen does good this game, it can potentially be a sign of like things to come. But if Josh Allen can perform against this Jets pretty horrendously, then I feel like we should be much more skeptical of the Bills and calm down on the hype.
Yeah, I think that this game is like a big game for like a lot of Jets receivers. I think like fantasy wise, I don't think they're gonna really do anything. I think that after like halftime, when the game is pretty much a blowout, the Bills are gonna let anything underneath happen, and like people like Le'Veon Bell and Denzel Mims, if he's starting, I think that they'll probably like run all over the Bills defense in the second half and just make it like a 14-point game to make it seem like a little like they tried it. But I think that the Jets pretty much stand no chance.
Yeah, this
I think
is
that's gonna do it for the NFL Week 1 Part 1 predictions. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.